So, as we all know, the sun is a double edged sword. On one hand, it provides us with the much needed vitamin D, while on the other hand, it can cause damage to our skin. So, for those with sensitive skin type, finding the safe and effective sun protection can be a challenge. Now, the wrong sunscreen can cause irritation, breakouts, and other unwanted side effects, leaving our skin frustrated and making us feel helpless. Now, hello viewers, my name is Saina Sekhri. I am your host for today, and we are here with another episode of Requil's panel discussion series. Today, we are accompanied by two experts. One is a leading dermatologist, Dr. Natasha, and another one is a renowned cosmetic surgeon, Dr. Neha. They will help us understand the importance of using the right sunscreen for dry and sensitive skin type. They will also provide us insights into the best practices for protecting our skin from harmful sun rays. So, without any further ado, let's get started and learn everything we need to know about the right safe sun protection for your dry and sensitive skin type. I would like to welcome Dr. Neha and Dr. Natasha.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Saina, for such a warm welcome. It's my pleasure to be here again with you all, and I can't wait to start off this insightful session.
Thank you so much, dear Saina, for having us here today. I'm pretty sure it's going to be very informative, and our listeners should be looking forward.
Definitely. So, shall we begin with the questions? Are you all ready to answer? Oh, okay. So, Dr. Natasha, I would like to ask you the first question. It's a very basic question. I wanted to know what is the importance of a sunscreen and why is it particularly important for dry and sensitive skin type?
Okay, so that's great. So we're starting off simple with something very basic, like why do we need to use a sunscreen? And I think, Saina, it's 2023. Everybody is very conscious about the skincare that they're using and they want to protect their skin and etc. So we know that sunscreen is important, but why is it important? So two things, 95% of your skin's aging is because of sun damage and UVA damage. So that could mean even, the UV light that's coming in from your laptop screens, your LED lights, your phone screens, all of this is continuously causing aging to your skin. And Indian skin, when we talk about aging, means it's going to tan, it's going to pigment, you're going to get fine lines and wrinkles, your pores will become larger, your acne scars could be more visible. So these are one of, the main reasons why you're going to be using a sunscreen. Of course, UVA causes a lot of skin cancer chance. It also causes a chance of, accelerating your fine lines and wrinkles very rapidly. So these are some of the main reasons why we must use a sunscreen and why we must reapply the sunscreen that we're using during the day also. So it's not enough just to use it once. We need to reapply it every 3 to 4 hours. The second part of your question was quite interesting, that why is it particularly important, for people with dry and sensitive skin. So I like to, give like a very nice analogy. If we look at a cricket pitch, or if you're looking at the ground, and when the ground is dry, like when it's not rained or anything, you have these tiny cracks that come up in the ground, right? And when these tiny cracks come in, what does that mean? Anything that's on the outside is going to go in, and anything that's inside can easily come out, right? So that's exactly what happens for people with dry and sensitive skin. Their skin barrier is a little compromised. What that means is that anything that's harmfully going to affect them from the outside, like your sun or the UV rays, it's going to cause more damage to it. So you're going to sunburn a little more because your skin's a little more delicate. And also what that means is because of the cracks, all the water and all the healthy things from the lower layers of your skin also is going out. So your skin's going to become more dehydrated as a result. Other than that, I also see that, people with dry, sensitive skin have a tendency of becoming red very easily, or they, you have a stinging sensation on your face, so you could be dry and itchy, and you have an overall sensitivity as well. So if you don't use sunscreen, which means your skin's going to get dehydrated, which means you're going to get a sunburn, and in return, all of this dry, itchy, tight, uncomfortable feeling on the skin is going to increase as well. Other than that, I think there are a lot of skin conditions like eczema, rosacea, psoriasis, tiny, tiny skin conditions which you could have. And if you don't use a sunscreen and you don't protect yourself from the sun, it's going to make these skin conditions exacerbate. So it's going to become really acute and really severe if it was, calm earlier, if you're not going to use sun protection. So I think all in all, I think it's, for all skin types, it's very important to use a sunscreen. But for dry and sensitive skin, it's even more important, because if you don't use a sunscreen and create a barrier or protect your skin, or moisturize or hydrate your skin, you're going to cause more damage, and you're going to make your skin dry, itchy, tight, flaky, and really uncomfortable to be in.
That really makes sense. I think it's so important to start using a sunscreen, especially for, the dry and sensitive skin type. I think all skin types should use a sunscreen. Now, I would like to ask the second question to Dr. Neha. So, what should people look for while they are choosing a sunscreen for the sensitive skin type?
Okay. So, first of all, let's talk about it in a general sense, right? For everybody. So when you're talking about oily, acne-prone, sensitive, dry, normal skin tones, what we have to firstly look for in your sunscreen is it should be broad spectrum. When we are talking broad spectrum, we are looking for protection for UVA and UVB. Now, when you see a bottle of sunscreen, there will be something known as SPF factor. There will be something known as PA index. So your SPF factor is protecting you from your UVB radiation, and your PA index is from your UVA. So your SPF factor should be 30 or above, protecting you from your UVB radiation. And when you're talking about PA index, you'll see plus, plus, plus. The more the pluses, the more it is protecting you from your UVA radiation. So that is broad spectrum. You have UVA and UVB filters, which are present in your sunscreen. Second thing, most importantly, what generally we look for, it should be non-comedogenic. It should not clog up your pores. It should have less or minimum white cast so that we can apply it very well. It should be very hydrating and lightweight so that, it blends into your skin very well. Because we see patients, if it doesn't blend, if it shows a white cast, it makes them look darker, they're going to keep the sunscreen aside. So the whole purpose of sunscreen is lost. So these are things which we look for in general sense. Now, coming to dry and sensitive skin types, firstly and foremost, what we have to look for is minimum or no fragrance. Fragrance is going to irritate their skin. Fragrance is going to, flare up reactions in their skin, which is not going to go well with their skin type. So the whole purpose of sunscreen is lost. Secondly, what we have to look for is it should be very hydrating in consistency. It should blend well with their skin. It should keep them moist and plump throughout the day. It should not that, it should irritate and make them remove the sunscreen in the first place. So it should be very hydrating in consistency. Last and most importantly, for dry and sensitive, make sure that it is free from chemical filters. When we talk about chemical filters, it's all these avobenzone, oxybenzones, anything which has, O written, which we're going to talk about in more details in future. So this is something which you have to stay away from. Chemical filters always react with your skin, and especially in dry and sensitive skin type, when it reacts with your skin, it's going to flare up reactions as compared to physical sunscreens, which just forms a barrier on your skin. It sits on top of your skin. It doesn't react with your skin. It forms an umbrella on top and it protects your skin from the sun's rays. So your physical filters are all your titanium dioxide, your zinc oxides. Those form a little bit of white cast because they're forming an umbrella, but it is much more safer for dry and sensitive skin types. So always look for this. Some general skin, criteria, and some specific only for dry and sensitive skin types. That's what we need to look at.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Neha. I would like to ask the next question to Dr. Natasha. Why should these O chemicals, they need to be avoided?
Okay, that's great. Actually, Dr. Neha has summed it up pretty well on, what's a chemical filter and what's a physical filter. And in today's time, we have newer hybrid filters also that have come up. So you have hybrid sunscreens, which have a mix of both in them as well. So let's start off with the chemical filters, which you did mention, which are the O chemicals, which is oxybenzone, octinoxate, and octocrylene. Now, basically as Dr. Neha said, this UV, the chemical filters are going to sit on top of your skin. And when they come in contact with UV rays, what happens is they're converted into a heat form. So what that does is that a lot of people, especially with dry and sensitive skin, are going to experience, a hot sensation when they put the sunscreen on and go out into the sun. It could also be possible that, they experience itching or dryness or a stinging sensation irritation or even redness as soon as they apply these chemical filters onto their skin. So, that's one of the main reasons why chemical filters are not chosen for people with dry, sensitive skin. Another reason, it's 2023, so we're very environmental conscious, and we're also, looking at sustainability to such an extent. And we know that these chemical filters are found to be harmful for coral reefs and the marine life as well. So we prefer to, avoid these altogether. And other thing is, what I like to say is that anyway, when you're pregnant, you can't use chemical filters. So use something that's much more milder in those cases. Now, if you ask me, what are the filters can be used then for dry, sensitive skin? So you can opt for the physical or the hybrid filters. So you have zinc oxide, you have titanium dioxide, you have Tinosorb M, Tinosorb F. So they work very well for people with dry or sensitive skin. I tell, people always to test patch the sunscreen, especially if you have sensitive skin. See, apply it for 10-15 minutes, see if you have any stinging sensation, and then wash it off if needed. But the main basic logic is that chemical filters do tend to irritate your skin and cause a little inflammation, and that heat can be a little uncomfortable for someone with dry and sensitive skin. So we avoid them altogether, and we opt for safer sunscreens filters like the physical ones that I mentioned.
Thank you, Dr. Natasha. Now that we've understood, which all chemicals we need to avoid, I would like to ask Dr. Neha, what exactly are the ingredients we should look for while we talk about sunscreens for dry and a sensitive skin type?
So, Saina, when we are talking about, sunscreens meant for dry and sensitive skin type, most importantly, as we have said before, me and Dr. Natasha have specified that we have to stay as much away from the chemical filters. Stick to physical filters. When you're talking about chemical filters, everything which rhymes the word O is something which you have to stay away from. It is your oxybenzone, octinoxate, octocrylene, avobenzone. All of these are ingredients which can irritate your skin, and more so in dry and sensitive skin types. Stick to ingredients like zinc oxide, titanium dioxide. Now we have new FDA regulated filters called the Tinosorb M and Tinosorb S, which basically, it reduces the chances of irritation. So these are the ingredients which you look out for. Secondly, and most importantly, for dry and sensitive skin types, stay away from fragrance. It could be your cleansers, moisturizers, sunscreen, body lotion, whatever it might be. Fragrance is not meant for you. It can irritate your skin, cause skin reactions in future, and it becomes a vicious circle to treat, right? Stay away from fragrance in any form. Perfumes are still okay. If you want to smell good, that's okay, but not in lotions which you're using on your skin. So that's most important. Third, and most importantly, dry and sensitive skin, you can compare it to a parched desert. It is devoid of moisture. It loses moisture, and it's difficult for it to hold on to moisture. So make sure that your ingredients, your sunscreens, what you're looking for are hydrating. They have ingredients like hyaluronic acid or hyaluronic polymers, which hold on to your moisture so that your skin looks very plump, dewy, and calm throughout the day. So these are things and ingredients which you have to look out for when you're picking up sunscreens, especially for dry and sensitive skin type.
Thank you so much, Dr. Neha, because I also have a dry and sensitive skin type. So I think it's a very, this information is really important for people like me. I would like to ask the next question to Dr. Natasha. I have heard that if we don't use sunscreens, it can lead to several skin conditions, even including skin cancer at times. So is it really true that using the wrong sunscreen or not using a sunscreen at all lead to other skin conditions apart from sunburn or skin cancer?
Okay, great question. So I'll start with the first thing that you asked, that you've heard that not using a sunscreen can cause skin cancer and sunburn. Okay, so the two lights that we discussed about, UVB and UVA. So UVB basically, as I told you, causes a sunburn, causes tanning, which basically means that it's burning your skin or it's making your skin pigment. UVA, on the other hand, causes aging like we discussed, and it can cause skin cancer as well. Now, the rate of a skin cancer in Indian skin type is extremely, extremely low, like it's less than 1%. So it's not something that mainly affects Indian skin types. It's more to do with the Caucasian skin tones of people with lighter skin tones. But Indian skin pigments and tans and burns just like, like a click of a finger. So the main use of sunscreen for Indians is for the pigmentation, is for the aging, is just to keep overall, your overall skin health per se. So yes, you asked that, is it really true that using the wrong sunscreen or not using sunscreen at all, that could lead to this? Definitely, it can lead to it. But what else can it lead to? So, in the Indian skin type, we see a lot of skin conditions, especially pigmentation related. So you would have seen melasma, or in Hindi, it's known as chaya. So people say that, hame chaya aane lagi hai on our cheeks. It's very, very common. Even if you go to the villages, or if you go to, these high altitude places, you'll see all the women and all the men, they have like these brown patches on the cheeks. So this is predominantly UV exposure, and it's because of your UV exposure. Then there are other things like sunspots, or even freckles that you would have seen, that come up on your nose. We even have a filter on Instagram that has like the freckling filter that comes in. So those are all things that happen because of sun exposure. There are things like polymorphous light eruptions, which is basically a light allergy that could happen because of sun exposure that could come in. You could have, redness, inflammation, rosacea could increase. Something that I've seen very, very commonly also is, your acne will heal with a black mark, and that black mark becomes darker if you don't use a sunscreen, if you don't protect your skin. So again, not using a sunscreen could lead to those things. Then, another commonly seen thing is, you would have noticed you have tiny pores in your 20s and in your 30s. And if you don't use sunscreen, as you age, these acne scars and these pores are going to become bigger and bigger, because your skin is losing the elasticity. So your skin is becoming looser because of the aging. So you'll notice that the pores also are becoming bigger, and your acne scars also are becoming bigger. So this tends to happen when you don't use your sunscreen over a period of time as well. I think this pretty much covers it all. So we have our pigmentation, we have our aging issues. It would aggravate any pre-existing conditions like we discussed before. And then, of course, if you have dry skin, if you have sensitive skin, it's a catch-22, because everything under the sun causes you to burn. And then even everything in your sunscreen is going to cause you to burn and get irritated as well. So it gets really confusing on what to use and how to use as well. So definitely use a sunscreen, opt for the filters that Dr. Neha mentioned earlier, and reapply your sunscreen to avoid all what we discussed.
Thank you for your insights, Dr. Natasha. Finally, I would like to ask the last question to Dr. Neha. Are there any other lifestyle changes or precautions that people with sensitive skin type can take to protect their skin from the sun, apart from, using the sunscreen?
So firstly, let's talk about sunscreen itself. Then we'll move to something which is much more general. Firstly, whether it be sensitive, dry, or any skin types, the right amount of application of sunscreen is very, very important. Everyone emphasizes the 2-finger rule when you're talking about the face, and another finger for the neck. So using the right amount is very important. Covering the areas which are exposed. It could be your ears, your neck, your chest, your décolletage, your hands. Whichever part is exposed to the sun has to be covered adequately by sunscreen. Reapplication of sunscreen cannot be emphasized enough. More so in summers, at least minimum 2 to 3 times reapplication in the day is important. There are enough reapplication sunscreens which have come into the market. There are sticks, there are powders. Whichever form suits you, please make sure that you reapply your sunscreen. Always remember, sunscreen is one layer of protection. The more layers you have, the better. So how do we do it? When you're going out, especially between 11 to 4, I tell all my patients, sunscreen is not the only way of protection. You can protect yourself more. Now, the area around your eyes are very, very thin. The skin is very thin. So every time you go out in the sun, you scrunch your eyes. You get, you get your eyes closer to reduce your exposure. And this over a period of time is going to cause more lines and wrinkles around your eyes, right? So make sure that you're using wide-brimmed UV glasses when you're out in the sun. It's very, very important. That is your one way of protection. Secondly, what you can do is when you're out in the sun, use wide-brimmed, hats or scarves that will protect your hair as well as your skin when you're out in the sun. Always remember, I know it's very hot and humid when it's summers. We all prefer to wear sleeveless, and all backlit tops. It's too hot to be outside. But always remember, the more exposed you are, the more you're going to get tan. So it's better. I know it's very hot, but it's better you keep yourself protected with using long sleeve clothing. Always remember, when patients come to us, they're like, The skin which is exposed is always 1 or 2 shades darker than the area which is always covered. So that explains it. Anything you keep it covered is going to be lighter in shade. Anything which is exposed is going to be 1 or 2 shades darker. So the more you protect yourself, whether it be driving, whether you're walking out, make sure that you're wearing UV protective, clothing which protects the areas which are exposed. And always, this is a point which has to be remembered. Everyone in the last 2-3 years, because of the surge in Instagram and all the reels and matter of skin care which has come into, people are jumping into using retinols, actives like AHA, BHA. They are lovely ingredients, but if you don't protect it with sunscreen, one thing is you're not going to reap benefits from any of your actives which you have used. Secondly, you're going to have side effects from the same thing. So if you have started on any of your active journey, whether it be your retinols, AHA, BHA, or so forth, using sunscreen the next day and days after is very, very important. If you have not found a sunscreen of your choice, or if you're not using it religiously, make sure that you make your foundation strong. Use your sunscreen daily, every single day. And after that, start using your actives. Otherwise, especially in dry and sensitive skin type, it is just going to ruin your skin more and more. So that's very, very important.
Thank you so much, Dr. Neha. Thank you, Dr. Neha. I would like to ask, any final tips that you both want to share with our viewers?
Okay, so I think just to, pretty much sum it up, dry and sensitive skin can get really tricky, and you can get really confused about it. So don't fear from using a sunscreen. Don't fear away from reapplying your sunscreen as well. It's like finding the perfect pair of shoes that are not going to give you a shoe bite. Find that perfect sunscreen, try different sunscreens, look for, those hydrating ingredients like ceramides, peptides, hyaluronic acid. There are a lot of products in the market, and especially now there are products that are coming in with multi-purpose uses. So you have your sunscreen as well, and then you have like additional moisturizing ingredients in them as well. So definitely look out for that. And one thing, keep in mind that dry skin is going to get drier with age. So take a lot of care for it, moisturize it, take good care of it. Even, in your environment, avoid things that could dehydrate your skin. Keep yourself hydrated, eat the rainbow, so eat, foods of all colors, and keep your life, your lifestyle and your diet well balanced. And that should have you covered. And of course, don't forget your sunscreen and reapply your sunscreen.
Dr. Neha, do you have any final tips for our viewers?
Dr. Natasha summed everything up very well, but I like to talk in examples like I do to my patients. What I tell is, we don't need to be told to brush our teeth, right? It's wired in our system. We get up, we walk to our washroom, we brush our teeth, and we start our day. We don't get out of our houses without brushing. Not our parents, not any doctors, anybody needs to emphasize it. It's wired into our system. We are going to do it anyway. That is what you have to implement when it comes to sunscreens, right? There is a lot of emphasis on sunscreen worldwide, and this emphasis is only going stronger. There must be a reason why everywhere doctors and scientists and everyone are emphasizing about the use of sunscreen. It's something which has to be wired into you, that once I wash my face in the morning, whether I'm stepping outside or staying at home, whether I'm of any of my skin type, it could be normal, acne prone, oily, dry, sensitive, I am going to find a sunscreen which suits me. I am going to use it religiously, day in and day out. That's what it should be. Brushing my teeth, wearing my sunscreen are two things which I'm going to finish at the start of my day. Then my day is going to begin.
So thank you so much. That brings us to the end of our panel discussion. It was an absolute pleasure having both of you as guests on the show. Your insights were really invaluable, and I'm sure that our viewers must have gained a lot from listening to your expertise. And thank you for joining us today. I hope this session was helpful. Feel free to drop your queries in the comment section down below. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to Requill's YouTube channel for such interesting sessions. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.